Welcome to Inside the Indians, your source for insider information on the Tribe. Stay with us as we bring you the latest about the players, managers, and people behind the scenes at Victory Field. Now here's your host, the longtime broadcast voice of the Indians, Howard Kellman.
Hi everybody, I'm Howard Kellman and welcome to Inside the Indians. On today's show, we'll talk with the manager of the Tribe, Brian Esposito, with Indianapolis Indians outfielder Jordan Luplow and Randy Lewandowski, the president and general manager of the Indianapolis Indians. We'll be back to talk to Brian Esposito on WHMB. This is Inside the Indians. Esposito is our first guest, the manager of the Indianapolis Indians on Inside the Indians. Brian, you're a former catcher, and that gives you a wonderful perspective being a catcher.
Yeah, you know, behind the plate, you just see the game through a different lens. There's a lot of responsibilities that go on the field, so not only do we understand ours, but we try to look and give the best insight we can to the other players and their responsibilities and how things shape up in front of us. So, you know, you deal with a lot of emotions, you deal with a lot of egos, you know, with the pitching staff, you deal with a lot of different players. So we act as that buffer between, you know, getting everybody back to where they are and trying to maximize the pitcher's potential as well as some of the other guys on the field. So it's a different lens, and it carries over to what we do now.
And you also are dealing with the umpire.
Yeah, that's another thing that you do too, is that you want that guy on your side. So you find ways to again get him in your back pocket and try to get him in a good spot. You protect him, you keep him happy, and then a lot of those things carry over to what we want to do during the game.
There's something special about being a catcher, and when you were playing, did you think about managing and coaching? Because being a catcher lends itself to managing and coaching.
Yeah, it was something I was reminded of an awful lot every time I was either sent down from the big leagues or called back up to the big leagues. A lot of the different managers always told me that I had the qualities of a manager. I didn't really, I understood what they meant, but I wasn't really interested in hearing it at that time as I'm either shuffling back down or going back up. But yeah, it's something that it's easy for me to carry over right now. Like I said, you know, you're maximizing pitchers' potential. Well, now I get the opportunity to maximize 25 different players' potential on the field every day. You
played professionally for a number of years and got a little time in the big leagues.
Yeah, I grinded it out. I did what I could do. I took advantage of the opportunities when they were presented to me. You know, everybody's goal is to get to the big leagues. One of my goals was to get there and stay there. It didn't really work out that well. But it put me in a position to be able to do what I'm doing right now. So all those opportunities, all those experiences have helped me become a better manager, and it's allowed me to be in this position right now.
That time with the big leagues was with the Cardinals and the Astros, and you got a total of 3 big league at-bats. You must remember them.
Yeah, I spent more days in the big leagues than I had at-bats, so that's kind of interesting. I spent a bunch of days up there and only had 3 at-bats during that time. I certainly remember my at-bats, 0 for 3. You know, it is what it is. I tried to take every at-bat and get a hit every time I could. I just tried to produce and do something and show my value. Didn't work out, and here we are.
Was there anybody who really had a big influence who took you under his wing?
There were a lot of guys that took me under their wing when I was in the big leagues. The Cardinals, you know, when I was over there, it was a very veteran club. Jim Edmonds and Scott Rowland, Yadier Molina. So there were a lot of the veteran presence was there. Jason Isringhauser was a guy that I spent a lot of time with on and off the field. He did a really good job, you know, teaching me and showing me what it was all about. Still some lessons that I learned from those guys of how players are supposed to be treated and what it looks like has helped me, you know, in the clubhouse right now and manage these guys and allow them to be who they are.
Tell us about growing up. Staten Island, where you're from, is one of the 5 boroughs of New York City. Tell us about growing up and playing baseball. Tough
neighborhood. A lot of, you know, hard-nosed baseball players come out of that area. You know, a lot of the games that we play are all inner city. The fields are rough. It has gotten better in the past, but we were just a bunch of grinder kids. We played in the schoolyard when we went from the schoolyard to our Little League games, and you know, at 11 and 12 years old, we had a good group of players that came all the way up and went all the way through high school. We got to play in the Little League World Series together, and a lot of those guys wound up moving on to pro baseball. So growing up there, we had a really good group of guys to play with, some good coaching, some hard-nosed coaching. So it was good. It really shaped me for my career moving forward, whether it was through college or pro baseball.
Were you always a catcher?
You know, I moved around a lot when I was a kid. I played some third base, played some shortstop, did some pitching, and then, but the majority, once I started getting a little bit older, I spent most of my time behind the plate.
You mentioned that, and tell us the story of growing up and then signing your first professional contract.
Going on to the University of Connecticut my junior year, it was one of the things that I started getting some attention and some opportunities, and I didn't believe anything until I see it, and then I wound up getting taken by the Red Sox in the 5th round, and it was a no-brainer for me to go ahead and ink that name and start my career.
And what was it like then, going into pro ball?
I didn't know what to expect. I just kind of went out there and just did what I had to do every day. I played hard, lived it hard. Whether it was on and off the field, I did everything hard. So it was a good opportunity for me to learn and do some things. And again, it shaped me for who I am right now. Not always so much with what to do, but what not to do.
Right. What's interesting is, when you sign a contract, you start to play ball. Here, you may be the star, and I say you, not only you, but other players, the star of your high school team, your college team, you're the best player. Then all of a sudden, you get to pro ball, and you're lumped in with the best players from their college and high school teams.
Yeah, it was one of those great experiences. Now you're talking about not just in the United States and other guys that we play with, but you're talking about players from outside the country. You're talking about a lot of guys from Dominican and Venezuela and Mexico. So there were a lot of people that I came in contact with. There are still people that I met my first year playing pro ball that I still stay in contact with, not just from the States, but from overseas. So tremendous experience. This is a great game.
Yeah. Did you think that you'd rise this quickly to manage? This is a great opportunity to you, managing at the AAA level.
I just show up every day and I just try to do, I just try to lead and impact and teach these guys what it is to be a ball player and make sure that they don't fall short of their dreams. So whatever that looks like, the organization has a certain set of things that they want these players to do, and I just dive into the organization, what's best for the organization, what's best for the team, and I don't really worry about where I'm doing it. It's just a matter of I got a job to do, I just go out and do it.
Brian, I thank you very much. Best of luck. We'll talk to you in a few weeks.
My pleasure.
That's Indianapolis Indians manager Brian Esposito. We'll have more on the home of the Indians, WHMB TV 40. Tribe outfielder Jordan Luplow is our next guest on Inside the Indians. Jordan, you had a terrific season last year, not only in terms of what you did with the numbers and the batting and so forth, but the fact you really moved and shot your way through the system. Tell us your thoughts when you look back to last season.
Yeah, I think it's something I'm able to hang my hat on, and I was able to reflect a little bit on what happened last year, and I just got to really thank the Pirates organization and my family and friends for all the support they've given me.
You went from AA to AAA to the big leagues. How did things start at Altoona, the AA level?
It started off great. I got to work with Riggsy, the hitting coach that was there last year. Put in some good work, and it translated to the games, and then just kind of building on that, getting with Butch here, and then Brano up in the big leagues.
And you got to AAA. You mentioned Butch Weiniger. Did you notice a big difference in the pitching you faced when you went from AA Altoona to AAA Indianapolis?
Yeah, there was a little adjustment. I think guys here are less worried about working on stuff, and they're more worried about numbers because they're so close to the big leagues. They're thinking, I have a good week or two, I could be up in the big leagues, and so they're really pitching a little differently. They might pitch around you, they might come at you at times, but it's just a little different. Yeah.
Do you find the hitters tend to do the same thing then too? They might not have the proper approach of just saying, hey, I've got to get to the big leagues, and sometimes, and you didn't do this, but a guy can put too much pressure on himself.
Yeah, I think that's the case at any level. You can always put too much pressure on yourself, and you just got to learn to slow the game down a little bit and stay within yourself.
Well, you excelled here in Indianapolis, and the plan wasn't necessarily if you get to the big leagues that quickly, but sometimes there are injuries and things happen.
Yeah. I had to step in for a couple guys and try and take advantage of my opportunity.
Why is it so important to get at bats at each level?
I just think it's your development. The more at bats you have, the more comfortable you get, and the more you learn about yourself and who you are as a player.
Is there anything in particular that stands out along your journey to go from AA to AAA to the big leagues?
Yeah, you know, guys, you see so many different types of pitchers, different angles, speeds. You really get to find out what you're good at and what, you know, you struggle with at times.
Some hitters guess, some call it an educated guess. When you go up to the plate, tell us about your philosophy of hitting and your approach.
Me, I have to keep it simple. If I try to complicate things and think too much, that's when I go into slumps. So honestly, I just try and sit middle of the plate, and anything over the middle of the plate, I'm taking my A swing.
Do you look for fastball as opposed to a breaking ball, or how do you handle that?
It depends on the situation. I think the score of the game, runners on base, runners not on base, you take all that into account and take your best educated guess, as you said.
You mentioned the score of the game, and really whether you're hitting, whether you're in the field, especially on the bases, the score of the game should dictate a lot of how you play the game.
Absolutely, absolutely. Just looking at the scoreboard, every inning, every pitch, every out, can really determine a lot of your success and what's going to happen. And I think the longer you play the game, the more you learn about those things.
You're talking about your approach as a hitter. Do you have a different approach when you get 2 strikes on you?
Yeah, you know, I lower my expectations, I guess you could say. I'm not trying to hit the ball as far. I think just trying to get a good quality at bat and put some barrel on the ball.
This can be a tough game to play. It's a skill sport. It's very challenging. You deal with failure. One of the things that impressed me about you is you're self-confident. Not everybody is. And I looked at your eyes when I first met you. I said, this kid has the makeup. And I think having the right makeup and attitude means everything in playing this game.
Yeah, there's always ups and downs in this game, whether you're in Little League or you're in the big leagues. So I just think playing this game so long, as we all have, you just got to learn from all the obstacles and the ups and downs. And, you know, you go through so many downs that they don't really affect you as they used to. So, you know, I've just been able to mature a little bit and, you know, not focus so much on the negatives.
Tell us about playing college baseball at Fresno State, and one of your teammates was Aaron Judge.
Yeah, Fresno State, Coach Mike Batesel over there, he's a great guy. I've known him for a while before I went college there, and you know, he's been nothing but great to me. And then obviously playing with Aaron, we learned a lot from each other. We fed off each other, and you know, he brought a lot of scouts to the games that helped me out. So yeah, I really enjoyed playing with him.
That's great. Well, Jordan, I thank you so much, and congratulations on all you've achieved, and there's plenty more to come.
Oh, thank you, Howard.
That's Jordan Luplow on Inside the Indians on WHMB TV 40. The Indianapolis Indians president and general manager, is our next guest on Inside the Indians. Randy, the ballpark looking beautiful as it does every year. And first, let's go back to last year for a moment. I congratulate you on the fact that the Indianapolis Indians, not only last year but the year before, led all of minor league baseball in attendance.
Well, thank you, Howard. And actually, it's 3 out of 5 years, and it's something that, you know, we're really proud of. It's really how we as a front office are judged and graded is really on our attendance, and it's we set I think some tough goals, but we've been able to reach those, and for us to lead our industry in attendance is something that we're certainly proud of as an entire staff.
This past winter, renovating the suites in the suite area was the big project, and it looks absolutely magnificent. Not only the suites themselves, but the fact that we honor our rich heritage of the Indianapolis Indians on the suite level.
Yeah, I think you know, we're always trying to invest in the ballpark, and that's something that we've continually done over the 22 years at Victory Field. You know, this was in conjunction with our landlord, the Capital Improvement Board. Great plans with our design teams in the construction process, and it was really to update and refresh the suites. Yet we also look back, as you mentioned, with we've got a great history and some great stories to tell, and our design team did a really great job in bringing that out, both recent past, but also distant past, and tying that all together up on suite level with bright imagery and colors and really bringing that out.
You've been working for the Indians, as I have, Bruce Schumacher, Cal Burleson, Max Schumacher, virtually your entire adult life.
It's unique for sure. When you tell people that, they find that hard to believe. And I think even in this day and age, there's a lot more movement and job hopping that happens. I've been fortunate that I found a great employer when I first started my career. I enjoy what I do and still love coming to the ballpark every day.
Before you got to the Indians, you were a student at Anderson, and you were an academic All-American, which is a true student athlete. And I really compliment you. And take us back to those days at Anderson.
Well, that's a long time ago. Enjoyed my time at Anderson, late 80s, early 90s. Graduated in 1993. Played for a legendary coach and Coach Don Brandon. Learned a lot about the game, but probably learned more about life and how to grow up and how to be responsible. And a great academic institution, and you know, at the Division III level, you really become a student athlete. You are a student athlete. You know you're not going to get drafted in most cases, and that's really what it was all about. So to combine the academics yet continuing to play the game that I loved was, I think, a marriage made in heaven, and really enjoyed my time at Anderson.
Timing is important, and you got to the Indianapolis Indians just a couple of years before we opened Victory Field.
Well, and that's really what opened the door for me, and there were 6 others. At the time, the Indians had a full-time staff of 7 people at Busch Stadium. I was an intern there for 2 years, and really what the impetus was to grow the staff, was the building of Victory Field. So it turned in not only as a great opportunity, you know, for me personally and 6 other guys on our staff, but it's also been a wonderful opportunity for Indianapolis and what a community driver that Victory Field has become. If you remember, there was a lot of skepticism back in the day, and now, you know, Victory Field's become synonymous with downtown Indianapolis, and we lead our industry in attendance. We're bringing 640,000 people to downtown Indianapolis. That's really what the vision was, and opened up a lot of doors for a lot of people and a lot of things.
You made a great point about some people being skeptical because, all right, we're moving to a new downtown ballpark, but we're asking fans to pay for tickets because the Indians' attendance, a great part of it at Busch Stadium, was built on those special nights by corporations.
Certainly sponsor related, and lots of 2-for-1s and lots of other things. We still do a lot of deals, but a lot of them are concession driven or day of the week, still tied in with partners. But yeah, it was a completely different model, and we're so far beyond that, and we're so thankful for the support that we received from Indianapolis and the Central Indiana community. It's been fantastic.
Now, we've got some changes in the game of baseball on the field this year at the minor league level. Give us your thoughts on those.
Well, I think the pace of game is something that's been coming, and there's a minor alteration now where we shrink the time clock down from 20 seconds to 15 with nobody on base. I think the biggest one is going to be, the 2 biggest ones are mound visits. We're still trying to figure out how to inform our fans of that with our video boards and our technology, and squeezing that in. We want to put as much information on those boards as we can. We're going to live and learn a little bit on that one. I think the biggest thing is for the fans is going to be the extra innings where we put a runner on second base to start the 10th inning. It's certainly non-traditional. I don't know that anybody right now is a huge fan of it, other than folks in player development. I understand why they want to do it. It's just going to take some getting used to because it's so non-traditional. But times evolve, times change, and we'll roll with it. Educate our fans the best that we can, and our field staff's going to have to learn how to strategize and play around that as well. Because again, while development's important in minor league baseball, I think the minute anybody puts on a uniform, they want to win the game too, and we'll have to work through that.
You mentioned that, and I think that rule will not be incorporated in the major leagues, but they want to have, from a player development standpoint, they don't want 15, 16-inning games here, which will affect the pitching staff if they need a bullpen guy.
And I would never say never on it going to the major leagues. You don't know. It's a lot of trial and error, and the minor leagues is a good place for the major leagues to test that out. I liken it a lot to the NHL. They tried the shootout in some of the lower levels back in the early 2000s. They adopted it in the NHL, and there's still purists that don't like games ending on shootouts in the regular season, but it's become, I think, run-of-the-mill anymore in the NHL, and that may happen in Major League Baseball. Time will tell on that. We'll see how it goes this year, and we'll figure it out.
The Indianapolis Indians and Pittsburgh Pirates have worked together, working agreement since 2005. Tell us about the relationship.
We've got a great relationship, both with their president, Frank Coonley. He's always open and honest and shares with us, and we've got a great back and forth on the relationship. On the player development side, I think we work really well with Neil Huntington, the general manager, Kyle Stark, the assistant GM, and then really our main point of contact is Larry Broadway, who's their director of minor league operations. That's really who we deal with most on our player moves and guys going up to the major leagues and coming up from AA. But it's been a great relationship. We've been with them since 2005, and it's something that we're signed with them through 2020, and they've really put a good product on the field for us over the last, I think, 6, 7, 8 years.
Randy, congratulations on all you've achieved over the years. I thank you very much, and best of luck this season.
Thank you, Howard. Appreciate it very much.
That's Randy Lewandowski, Indianapolis Indians president and general manager. We'll have more on Inside the Indians. We'd like to thank our guests, Brian Esposito, Jordan Luplow, and Randy Lewandowski, Inside the Indians, every other Monday, 9:30 p.m., WHMB TV 40. See you next time on Inside the Indians.